Welcome to the Business of School podcast, brought to you by Cole Connect. Get ready for a journey of topical insights, engaging conversations, and maybe a few aha moments from the business, finance, and technology side of schools. Cole School experts are your host, and with our guests from the world of education, we're about to embark on a learning adventure to support you in the business of your school. Amy's background in schooling has suitably led to her current role at Torrens Valley Christian School as an application support officer in the IT department. Amy has previously worked in China at an international school and in a variety of roles within the admin team at Torrens Valley. Change is no stranger to the modern school, and in her unique role for a school, Amy has worked with leadership and staff at Torrens Valley through various systems and process changes. Amy, welcome to the Business of School podcast. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
You've had a very varied role in your life in the school sector. Maybe you can start us off by giving us a bit of a snapshot of what your current role is at Torrens Valley.
Yeah, sure. So I am in a fairly new role to our school. I've been there for almost 3 years. It's called Application Support Officer. And that is a focus on all the applications we run at the school. So the programs like your learning management tool and your student integration systems, all the database, all of the programs that might be on the periphery. That's my focus, and making sure they run at full capacity and motor them to the best of their ability.
Yeah, that's quite an unusual, unique role in the school sector, I'd say. It's not very often you'd come across that sort of role. So what was the history behind leadership being innovative in creating this role? It was very new to me. I got a tap on the shoulder by our then IT manager, Steve Randall, who had an idea or a vision, and this is the type of role that's building throughout the industry, where they're just needing people to focus solely on the programs they run, because there's so much other work that's going on in the world of IT. And it was a good fit for me because of the previous roles I had done, but also a need of looking to do something a little bit different. I didn't think IT was it, but I've absolutely enjoyed the change, because it's just been this wonderful funnel into where I'm now, from where everything else I've done through to teaching, through to admin. All of that sort of stuff has just sort of pointed me in this direction. Yeah. And because with technology in schools and the way the digital transformation is happening, it's not always just about the IT anymore, is it? There's so much more around the edges of that. Need management.
Yeah, there is. And just more so just the onboarding of it for staff and for their levels of understanding on how to use a program, who is actually going to motor that, who's going to give them relief on how we can get things done better. And so that's been part of my role.
Excellent. And with the varied roles that you've been in and this current role as application support officer, what are you seeing at the moment as standouts when it comes to change management in schools and managing the stress in the school workplace?
Yeah, I think that's basically at the speed of which it's been happening. So
supersonic speed.
Oh my goodness, it's been crazy. Even, you're hearing in some of your previous podcasts, they've even noted it, be it financial or payroll or it's the legality around it, it's the speed of change in which when we open up our computer from shutting it down the day before, it's different. And so trying to manage the onboarding, the explanation behind it, because we even as an IT team, we're going, well, what is that? Why does it work that way? And we've got staff coming through the door, my computer's not working. We're in the figuring out stage at the moment, and we'll find the answer. But it happens so fast that we are even running to try and keep abreast of it. Yeah.
And it's trying to get that balance right between the users and the technology, because as humans, like we're very adverse to change as it is. And then we've got to try and match that with the rapidity of how fast digital transformation is happening. That's a big deal for the team that you have at the school.
It is. And so you put that level of that change on it, let alone the level of now we're doing our work, which seems to be the smallest component of what we do at a school, our mainstream work, because there's all this other stuff that goes on to that stress level of change with the Australian curriculum. You're dealing with behavioural or emotional issues. You've got just the level of workload or layering of leadership on top of your role, let alone just trying to get my computer to turn on and get my teaching course up. So it's just compounding when you've got so much change.
We've talked a little bit about digital transformation and how it's sweeping across the educational sector. It's touching every role, every process in a school. How do you think, Amy, that schools can help relieve some of that stress that comes with the use of IT applications and the changes that are occurring in the school?
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm passionate about to see is the change of the need and the understanding of training. It's not just a matter of onboarding when you first get into a workplace. That's your role. This is your computer. These are the things that we use. Done. Off you go. I think we need to change our understanding and the expectation of staff and also parents and also students on what they already know to what they need to know to be able to utilise the programs that we use. But because they change, like we spoke about before, so fast and so quickly, I think the concept of training needs to be consistently touched at. So you have consistent training throughout the year.
It's not just a one-off.
Exactly. And what we've been trialling for a select group of staff, we've been going once a week, touching on, okay, where have we got some issues? Hey, there's this new thing in this program. Did you know you could do this? Here's a how-to. And it has just relieved their stress levels of going, oh, okay, I'm not the only one who's thinking wrong about this. Oh, I knew there was a better way to do this. And it's just lowered their levels of anxiety when they have to do something so fast or under pressure. When they know their tools that they're using, it has helped them immensely. For me, I want to see that change and that understanding of going, we actually have to embed this a lot more into our everyday use or everyday training.
Yeah.
And I know there's a load of PD, let alone with the teaching side. It's very heavy, let alone training curriculum changes, but it'd be really great to see that emphasis going, these are the tools and we're going to get our knowledge on it really good, really strong.
So do you see a transformation of something to do with a technology stack as rather than an immediate, massive, enormous change, that it's actually a journey?
It is.
And it's being on the journey with your staff and leading them on that?
It really is, because like you've said, we don't just purchase a product and think that's it. That will update and that will change and that will have myriads of little bits and pieces. You just won't be able to find the save button or those simple things. So we do need to go on that journey and have that as part of our running of the school, in that sense of just keeping people abreast of what they use.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about then your specific experiences at Torrens Valley, the school where you're working at the moment. Torrens Valley has recently navigated quite a big change and onboarded a new school app. Yeah. Talk about how that went and how did you navigate the change and the anticipated stress with the rest of the team? Yeah,
sure. So I think for that first moment when we were told we're going to navigate to something new, I think even myself went, oh, it's got to be tough. How are we going to navigate the whole back that you get from people going, I don't like change and I don't want to do anything different. The reason why we changed was for a really good reason. There were things that we were needing in this app process that were going to improve our processes, improve our communication with our parents, which was one of our big means of doing it.
Well, that's the other thing as well. This was an application that touched a lot of stakeholders of the school. It wasn't just being used by a distinct group in a department. This was something that touched most people within the school community and staff.
It did, and it was going to streamline some processes for us too, which is another little tick into our bow. So at first you've got to explain the why. You've got to almost sell the reason as to why you're doing this change. And so when people are on board with that one takes out a little bit of the fear of that change. But the way we navigated the whole process is we drew up a long timeline from the very first instigation with that company that we're doing our change with, right to the very last email that we're sending out to parents. And it involved our marketing, it involved communicating with staff, it involved training with staff and for parents and students. All of it just went by week by week by week from launch date and then to the overflow. We even assessed where that drop-off might be. So did an amazing course not long ago, and that spoke about, onboarding change. But then what happens when you get to the pinnacle and you've actually gotten there? There's a drop-off area where we think, oh, everything's fine and we'll just keep motoring. But there's a massive drop-over because we haven't quite got everyone on board, or there might be a few, but that spirals into a few more. So we made some time and allocation for that to make sure we scooped up more so the parents for this first part to make sure, why aren't you on board? What are you having problems with? Let's give you a call. Come on in. How can we help you over the phone? And lots of, good old how-tos. Videos are great for training because they're quick, they're fast, and people go, oh, no, I've got it.
Yeah.
So we did a nice big timeline. Yeah, things don't always go to plan, but we had the general gist of it, and all the stakeholders that were in part of that were on board with that. They had the same copy.
Because you've involved them. You've taken them on the journey. You've explained to them the objective of what you're trying to do, what you're expecting to be the outcomes on it, how it's going to benefit them, and then what they've got to do to learn and to be part of the change. And your communication sounds awesome, and how you went about that too. Make it as painless as possible for them and for yourselves in the IT department.
Yeah, and you really touched on that word communication, and that was one of the biggest focuses of that timeline, to go, have we communicated well with our parents in particular and our staff to know what's happening and where the change will be? Because there'll all be someone that, I've missed the email. What did the email say? Yeah. So have we picked up that slack?
Well, the biggest anxiety with any change is the unknown. So if we can communicate as much as we do know, to empower people with that knowledge of going, this is what the process is, this is what we're trying to achieve, this is what it's going to look like, that will help to reduce that worry and that stress about the whole process. Whether it be this particular project that you were involved in or other changes you've had at the school, what have you got any standout areas of change in the school environment? Wins, losses, goods, bads?
I think what I'm seeing, the change, and it's a little bit of concern, is stress. And that has so many facets into it. And it doesn't matter what role it is at the school. It's the level of stress that we're onboarding with and taking home, and then the levels of knowing if we can cope with it. And a lot of that, from my perspective, is IT. I think the wins are knowing that there might be a way to navigate that and to keep staff on board. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's young or older staff. It can be mixed. It's all about knowing how to cope with things, knowing that you've got support, knowing that you've got backup. One of the wins that we've had is from doing a bit of IT training, but putting a bit of humour into it.
Yeah,
things don't have to be serious.
Humour is a good touch to anything, isn't it?
Is it ever? And it takes the zap out of it that I'm not illiterate when it comes to my computer, that everyone has the same issue. Even I have issues. I work in IT, and all I need is someone from IT to stand behind me and my computer will work.
It always works when they stand there.
It's absolutely true. And the word glitch is a real thing. I thought it was just a brush off from the IT team when I wasn't working in there.
Yeah.
It's a true word. Very true word, isn't it? Yeah, it's amazing. So if you take the stress out of it and go, it's all right, we got you.
Yeah.
It's amazing where that's come. And so we've seen that in process, and we've seen that win. So it's been really good to watch.
Excellent. And what sort of feedback have you had from stakeholders regarding the processes that you implemented with the change that you did? Did you get unexpected responses or like really positive responses about some of the things that you did? You went, I didn't even think that would make such a big impact. Yeah.
Actually, you're very right. It has. It's funny when something goes well. Sometimes you don't hear about it because it didn't hurt.
That's right.
The change didn't have a big impact on them. And so that's the ultimate aim, I guess. One of the wins we had was when we onboarded our new app, we worked with a program called PIPS, and it's all to do with navigate or connecting your parents into the process and giving them all access in the IT world. It's Parent Integration Process or Program. And the two gentlemen who set that up are very, very smart. But that has taken our workload to a very small amount when it comes to that process. And we didn't actually anticipate it to be like that. That was a massive win when we onboarded it. And it was fairly new to them as well when we came through that process. So that's been a massive positive.
Okay, good. So just going back to the actual the application that you implemented at Torrens Valley and managing that change, that was a pretty broad application of a software that you were currently using with the Alpha School system, the Orbit app. Let's talk a little bit about how your role, which we've already identified as quite a unique role in the school sector, how that collaboration went with the software house and how you worked together with the implementation of the new application.
Yeah, sure. So we onboarded with the TAS Orbit app, which was basically back into our SIS program, which was brilliant. It was a bit of a no-brainer in that sense. It was doing many things that we were wanting out of an app. So my position and my role was to be almost the middleman or the glue between all the other stakeholders that we were running it with. Listening and onboarding with their program, which was actually really good and very seamless. The issues that we had were minor. Our data is good, so you keep a good database, then you're smooth sailing from there. So my role was making sure that from the beginning right through to the end that everything was touching that flow sheet that we had first set up to make sure that was actually occurring, but also just figuring out the small niggles. There's always going to be anomalies that you go, we never really anticipated that, even if it's just a different maybe family setup that is not fitting into the mold of what we're normally expecting into a rhythm of a database. So just navigating those little areas within TAS and making sure that they were working correctly to make sure we're getting parents on board.
Yeah. So you're very much a conduit or a mediator between the software house and your internal stakeholders. But quite often you'll see thought leadership in talking about change management and implementing new systems will talk about having a champion for the project. Did you feel like that your role within the school was the champion of that change?
I would.
Or did you set that up as was it a team?
Yeah, definitely a team, because we've got marketing involved. We've got enrolments, which is a big part of that unit, and onboarding with that new app. We've got obviously the business manager within the financial side of things, and our IT manager and our SIS admin doing all the tech end stuff, and along with PIPs, who were a very big part of that program onboarding, and Taz. I was just the conduit between the two and making sure we got to the end point. And you do need someone to steer and to make sure we get to that end point. So yeah, I'm certainly that person.
Yeah, but if there's another school was hearing this and going, we're not actually thought of having that role within our school, this sounds really interesting. What would you say would the main benefits of you having the position you did with that sort of project?
Yeah, I think for me it's prior knowledge, and definitely the having the knowledge of the program was a very big thing. If I had no idea and understanding from that admin perspective from where I had been, let alone understanding the teacher side of things, it would have been a bit of a struggle. It would have been a sort of set and forget and thinking it was going to be fine. I wouldn't have checked the areas that I know that would have been problematic.
Be able to apply your previous experience and sort of anticipate some of the things you're going to face too.
Yeah, looking at those complex family collections and setups within TAS and things like that. So that was really good knowledge. I would certainly recommend schools to look at doing a similar role, because it is a really big growing area. IT, like we spoke of before, it's just this building mechanism that's getting heavier and heavier in load of security and data and all the other things that go in between it, let alone, talk about all the other peripherals of insurance even, and ordering stock. The applications sort of get set and forget, whereas my role is able to keep that motoring and keep it going and keeping it up to date.
And it's a link between the users of the workflows with those in the IT department as well, just being able to bring reality to what the technology is that's being brought in by the IT. That's good. And I was also thinking that our software professional services team here at Cole, we work a lot with schools as well to help them with digital transformation and implementation of systems. And when we sit down with clients and we do a workshop with them, it seems like when we map out ecosystems, they just get bigger and bigger. Like there's just so many integrating applications now within the school ecosystem. So to have a role within the school that can help the IT manage that must be extremely useful.
I don't want to sort of big note myself, but I've found it very valuable. At sometimes you can sit very much on the back end without being noticed and not to be noticed, but it's just that position that sits there and keeps chugging along and just firing off little issues when things aren't working. Why is that working? TAS have a great support, but it's always intimate knowledge and current knowledge. But our IT team, they do the tech stuff. I have no knowledge of that. They are very well knowledge in, like you say, all that architecture and structure that comes with it. So that's their end. I'll leave that to them.
Yeah, definitely. Good on you. Let's step back a little bit from your particular school and maybe look a bit broader at the school sector. What changes would you like to see happening in the school industry to help lower IT related stresses?
I've touched on training. It's still, I suppose, my passion. We talk about IT, and IT can also encompass just the use of our phones. We've got kids coming through who are known as digital natives. I read an article recently which is very well put. Students and kids today can run an iPhone or an Android really easily. They can get their laptop up and running, but their knowledge of processes and programs and security is really limited. Then we've got parents who are then often managing multiple variances of that if they've got children in different schools, let alone do they check their emails? It's the data and the technology around that. And then we've got our professionals within our schools who change is happening so fast that how do they keep abreast of it? I think education is probably one of the biggest parts, and in really putting that back into the process, the reason why we do what we do, having that available to have help and support, and just keeping that a fresh training process throughout the year for all people involved.
Excellent. Good. Been absolute joy having you on, talking about a very different topic, different role within the schools. Let's hope that we see this change happening in the school sector, and a lot of schools embrace this function within the school to help all of their team and their stakeholders, and we're embracing new technology. Really loved chatting about it with you today, Amy, so thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks, Kenton. Thanks for having me.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the Business of School podcast. We've enjoyed the conversation today and would love to have you join us for future episodes. Please hit the subscribe button and follow the links below to find more information and resources to support you and your school team. Until next time, keep being innovative, keep being awesome, and remember, there is always opportunity to improve on the journey. Thanks for connecting.